Hi, everybody. We're starting in 2 minutes. Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, Make the Shift from Manual to Automation with Open Source. My name is Austin. I'm from Perfecto Marketing, and we have a really exciting webinar today. We're joined by Uzi Elon, Perfecto's Director of Technology, as well as Eva Anna, Senior Director of Enterprise QA at Infostretch. Welcome, everyone. Before I pass it over to them, just a few quick housekeeping items. We have a Q&A panel, and we'd be happy to answer your questions during the webinar or after if we don't get to the questions. So please submit if you have any questions. It's best to watch the webinar in full view, so you can do that in your WebEx panel. After the webinar, we'll email you the slides and recordings, so watch out for that email the next day or two. And then once the webinar is over, we have a survey, and we'd love for you to answer those questions to give us some feedback on how to improve the next webinar. Okay, without further ado, I'll pass it over to Uzi.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Shiva. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Uzi. Good. I'm doing very good.
Good morning, everyone. We're really excited to have this webinar. So today we are going to talk about the challenges of mobile automation, the challenges of mobile project, the challenging of how to create real automation unattended. And then what we want to do is to talk about framework. What are the requirements from a framework? After that, we are going to introduce you Qmetry, which is a very strong framework that Perfecto Mobile selected to use. And on top of that, we created a new project that we are going to share with you. And then I would like to talk a little bit about BDD and explain why BDD is very important for automation today. How does it connected between the different people in the organization through the automation flow? At the end, we're also going to show a demo. We believe that every webinar needs to contain a real demo, so we'll show you everything, and at the end, if we'll have time, we'll answer a few questions. So let's start, and let's start with the challenges. So the first part of the challenges when we are talking about automation script is, first of all, how to create automation. We found that it's very hard to define or to identify the right option. I analyzed hundreds and thousands of test cases, and I found a lot of issue with the implementation of the objects. This problem, like not robust enough object ID or something like this, can affect the robustness of the automation and can affect the maintenance. How much time do you need to spend in order to improve your script, to support it, to support more devices, to support other executions? Another thing that we found that it's really hard to automate is the complex action in the application space. So right now the application become more complex, the action becomes very, the action with the mobile becomes very sophisticated, so sometimes we need not only to run the automation on our application, but to use an external API and to use an external feature of the device. So this actually makes the automation very hard. And the last but not least, special events, call, alert, pop-ups that arrive through the automation always affect your automation. And remember, what we want to achieve is unattended automation. We would like to make sure that we can have automated scripts that can be executed unattended through the CI. And we talked a lot about the creation, but I think what is harder is to maintain the script. Why? Because through the version, and if we are talking about mobile automation, we are always talking about agile projects. It changes all the time. You have new releases, you have new object IDs. Now, some devices behave differently based on their actions or based on the special feature on the device. Different platform, different browser, and rapid change in the application. As I mentioned, let's say that there is a feature that's released, you got, or the brand got some input from the App Store, and today all the brands actually monitoring the App Store, they are changing it rapidly. So all of these facts make the maintenance very hard. So if you don't have a strong automation built in a very structured framework, it will be very hard to maintain. So that's one challenge that we would like to face today. The second one is about the mobile. Yes, we are creating a mobile automation, and we are a mobile script and mobile automation, everything on the mobile application. So we talked about the new feature of the mobile or the advanced features of the mobile, but we're also going to talk about the different OS version, the different screen size. If we're talking about responsive web, a lot of the screen size affects dramatically on the way that your web looks on the device. If you're talking about the native application and usage of a specific API feature from the device, the OS version affects dramatically on your application. And we also talk about the less time to develop. Last but not least, all the new devices contain the new options like BLE, camera, GPS. All of these features make it really complicated to develop, but even harder to test because there are different GPS driver on each device. Shiva, I know that you're working with a lot of projects, and what I would like to ask you here, based on the projects that you work with, how much of, or what is the % of your project that actually use feature around the advanced automation feature, like GPS or camera?
Uzi, good that you asked this question, right? I mean, nowadays, every mobile application that we develop or test in the market, right, we pretty much see these features have become as the de facto standard. Pretty much every application have some other features as part of the applications, right? So some features include mostly the camera-based functionality like the QR code scanner or barcode scanner, or we see the mobile wallet, touch ID. So all these features, right? So day by day, there are new use cases coming, and for automation, this has become a necessity, so that any framework or solution that you select that needs to support these advanced features. I mean, nowadays these are all not advanced; it has become a basic feature.
That's very important to mention here, that all of these features need to be automated as well. So if you have a test that needs to open the camera and read a barcode, how do you automate it? We added some feature in Perfecto mobile tool which implemented in this framework, which allow you to test it. It's called image injection. You can go to perfectomobile.com to read more about this specific feature, and if you have and want to more about it, let us know through the questions, and we will return to you with the answer. But right now, we would like to focus on the high level, how to create a test and not on a specific feature. The third challenge is the different persona in the organization. So today, the organization are working together. So we have the developers that write the code, we have the tester most of the time, and what we saw lately, that the tester and the developer are part of the same team. So suddenly we have the same teams that work together, and we have also someone which is the product owner, which defines the flows. And each of the persona can actually add some data into the test flow and into the test requirements. How do you do this? How do you take persona, which is a product owner that understands the flow, but he's not technical, and have the same language with a tester which knows how to test but does not know anything about threading in Java, with a developer that knows how to create all the threading and all the magic in code, but he don't understand the customer needs? How do you create one option, so one language to connect them all? So this is a challenge that we thought about it a lot, and I think we find a very nice solution for that based on BDD. And we were going to talk about it later. And the third challenge, which is very important, is actually the execution. So let's say I have an automation and I have my execution. How do I execute it multi-threaded? How do I execute it unattended? What happens if the device is in use? Who is going to handle it? How does it work? I have 100 devices and I have 100 test cases and 10 devices. How do I manage this execution? And more important from that, that let's say that I have like hundreds of test cases. I'm going to execute all of them, and I'll get 93 failure. I'm going to analyze how I will be able to find the exact error based on the report. So we found that the ability to execute the script unattended, multi-threaded, and to get the results and analyze it is a very important feature in the framework. I mentioned CI, and Shiva, here I want to talk to you a little bit about the CI. What are the differences that you see between mobile CI and standard CI?
So, Uzi, I think, I mean, if you had asked me this question maybe a couple of years before, there used to be a difference between the typical web application versus mobile applications. But with the advancement in the cloud offerings like Perfecto, what it offers to the customers, we are seeing no difference between the web applications and the mobile applications, right? So basically, you are allowed to not only the continuous integration, but you are also have mechanism to kind of do the continuous deployment to the devices. You can build the binaries both for iOS and Android and other platforms, and you can take it to the device, install it on the fly, and you can run your smoke test or the full regression test. So with the advanced offerings that are available in the market today, the continuous integration and the continuous deployment is no different between web application and mobile applications, right? So you are able to take it all the way to some of the test app stores also, that after you completely validate the application and deploy to the app store so that it can be allowed for any customers to test it out. So there is pretty advanced, and the CI in a mobile application is in a way it is unique that it brings the device a variation, right, in terms of the OS and the form factor. So, but definitely it is advanced and it is very much possible.
Thank you for that. I want to highlight actually 2 points that you just talked about. First of all, the magnitude of the execution. So if we have one test and we have 10 devices, so suddenly we need to execute it 10 times. So let's think that projects that they have hundreds of test cases and tens of devices, so we have a lot of execution. So that's one point. And the other point, which I found very, very important, is actually that it's the same as the standard CI process. So we cannot come and change the internal process in the organization, and this framework, as part of their requirement, was to use the standard tools that today exist in the organization in order to extend the CI process and not replace and change all the processes. So based on everything that we just said, we defined in Perfecto Mobile a few requirements for a tool, few requirements from framework in order to offer it to our customer. Before we define it, what we wanted to make sure that this framework is an open source. Why? Because we believe that framework is something that need to be open source, need to be shared, need to be get some input from everyone in the community. So we talked about open source. We talked about open and connected. Perfecto Mobile allows you a lot of way to connect to devices, a lot of way to connect to a specific and unique command. And we would like that this framework which allows us to connect to these specific tools. But sometimes you also want to run it on your local device and not only on Perfecto Mobile. So we think that, and that was part of the requirement, that these tools will be able to run on devices on the in the cloud and also on local devices. Another thing that we found very important, we are talking about mobile devices, we are talking about execution of tests. We need to execute it on all of the available devices, so multi-threaded was very important for that. Support the persona. Remember, we defined all the different personas. So we looked for an open source which allows us to use BDD because we believe that BDD have to improve the conversation between the different personas in the organization and allow to build a full SDLC with the different different personas in the organization. Another thing that we found very important is we want it to base on the standard tools. First of all, because we don't want to invade the wheel. We believe that if someone creates a good framework or good part of the framework, we should use it. And second, as we mentioned, we need to connect to existing processes. So if we're talking about CI server, a lot of people use Jenkins. We need to use Jenkins. We are not going to develop a new CI server. We looked for a tool that allows us to create easy script and to be very structured in order to have easy maintenance. We looked for a strong report capability, and as I mentioned before, we wanted to be able to run on a SaaS and on the local. So we found QAS, and in the next slide, Shiva is going to describe a little bit what is QAF and what we can do with QAF. And on top of QAF, we created a project named Quantum. Quantum is implementation of automation projects based on QAF, which allows you to connect better with Perfecto Mobile, which allows you to create an easy script, and which allows you to manage your execution and the multi-threaded execution. Both are open source. There are links to both of the projects, and in the end of the webinar, we'll show you what will be the right next steps in order to start working with these tools. So Shiva, please tell us a little bit about the QAS.
Thanks, Uzi. Like I think we saw what some of the challenges that Uzi described, and also that's what we see, right? So the community automation framework, in short, QAF, was conceived and designed. We continue to enhance the features, right? It was primarily built for a single most objective of having an unified automation framework that allows you to kind of automate the different channels, right? So nowadays we see applications span across multiple channels, and so the automation framework, the community automation framework, was primarily built around to support, so that you don't have to go through learnings of different techniques based on each channel that you want to automate, whether it is a desktop web application or mobile applications, whether be it mobile web or native or hybrid. You don't have to go through kind of learning or having a different approach. So that was the single most objective that we had when we started doing, and as we see more and more requirements and the needs in the market, we continue to enhance to provide the experience that we initially thought about it. Right? So as you can see, I think this is open source GPL based license, and you can see the link, and we'll continue to give more information about this framework as well as the Perfecto implemented framework on top of KF called Quantum. So we'll continue to give this information all along the demo as well as in the follow-up emails. Right. So to talk about what is the community automation framework, right? So it's a 10 years of work. We started in the early days of Selenium. We saw several gaps in terms of how the object repository is being kind of maintained, what kind of reporting that is being offered as part of the Selenium. So we saw several gaps in the early days of Selenium, and we started building framework on top of Selenium, right? So it's good, like I think you saw in the slide where Uzi mentioned that community automation framework is a collection of few open source solutions like Selenium, TestNG, and Appium. All those are the components in which the community is kind of built upon. But we bring a lot of customization, right? So how do you author your test cases, whether you want to author the test cases in a BDD or a keyword based, or you want to kind of go back to Java based approach. The community automation framework does support the different flavors of test authoring, right? So BDD, we have seen much more industry adoption, especially in agile based projects, right, where you have to start doing your automation or start doing the in-sprint automation, right? So BDD has become a very handy tool, so you can write your test cases. But also it brings a lot of other benefits, like Uzi talked about different personas. So BDD is a lot more readable, so it can be read and understood by the non-technical users as well. So we saw there was a need for having a BDD, and this is also like I said, this is 10 years of work. But so the BDD, some of these concepts we have started even before Cucumber was out there in the market, right? One of the other things that we saw or we continue to improve is how you can kind of reduce the maintenance, because that was one of the key challenge that Uzi mentioned in the first slide, right? So maintenance, in our experience, we see 2/3 of effort goes into the maintenance. So that's the key constant battle that we have, how we can kind of minimize the maintenance. The maintenance comes in the form of optimized object repository, and how you can kind of increase the reusability of the test code, right? So some of those basic features that you would expect out of a framework, that's what we have kind of implemented. And we continue to provide integration to various solutions that are out there in the market. Like, for example, Selenium and Appium are the two popular tools, but we would be kind of looking at it and see how you can kind of take this one standard framework across the different solutions that might be there, right? So we're looking to see how you can extend this framework, some of the IoT testing or some of the non-UI based testing as well, right? Uzi, can you move to the next slide, please? Thank you. This is kind of a very high level features, right? So like I said, we started with the focus on providing Selenium based UI automation, but we have kind of come a long way that we test mobile applications as well as the web services, right? So web services also allows you to kind of do a lot of validations, as well as you can start certain transactions or the use cases from mobile or the desktop channel, and you can do some verifications by making web service calls. So we have seen all these kind of complex scenarios. We have seen in the market also that customers tend to use different tools, and this was the one reason that we built so that you don't have to have different tools, right? So you can visit the community website, where you can see the detailed reporting and a lot of trending analysis also available as part of the framework that allows you to see pinpoint where the exact failures, right? Especially if it is a mobile device, you can see what was the screenshot, what was the device characteristic in which that you executed, all that information is captured out of the box without you writing a single line of the code, right? So that's the beauty and benefit of using a framework like Kubernetes automation framework. Uzi, can you please this is kind of the core features or the benefits of using automation framework, right? Like I said, I keep repeating this, but having a unified automation framework solves many of the standards, many of the problems associated with standards or the approaches, or how do you want to train the team, how you can collectively look at the execution data in one place, right? So that's the core benefit that you get by using an unified framework like UAF, right? So the reusable test asset is another key area that we have seen because of the BD, and also having reusable test asset improves the code faster creation, as well as in the long run it helps to kind of minimize the maintenance effort associated to the test automation effort itself. Right. The data-driven is another key area because these are all the very common things that you would see in any given framework, right? So data-driven is another key thing because we have seen even Cucumber lacks some of the data-driven testing support because it doesn't allow you to use some external data sources, and that's what we have addressed like 4 or 5 years before, so that you can have your BDD and still you can continue to use external data sources, whether it is a CSV or JSON file, or even for that matter data itself. So these are all some of the benefits, and kind of continuing on that, the last slide before Uzi can start talking about the demo and the architecture of the framework itself. Like, we believe in open source and we believe in open technology, right? So the QAF does allow you to kind of provide various integration, right, from automation tools to the CI tools versus test management tools. So pretty much any tools or technology that you might want to connect, it is available. It is pretty open technology, open architecture that you can integrate with any solution that you want to use, right? So having said that, Uzi, you can continue. You can take control and you can give more details about the architecture and the demo itself.
Thank you, Shiva. And actually, based on everything that Shiva just said, I just want to tell you a little bit about the process that we did in Perfecto Mobile. So we analyzed a lot of framework, and I just want to return to the previous file or to the previous slide, and you can see that there is a lot of benefit in Qmetry. So together with all the requirements that we defined, which been answered by Qmetry, all the easy way to use it, the ability to have the data driven, the ability to connect between the different parts of the organization, we find it very suitable to Perfecto Mobile. And what we did, we built a project on top of this. So right now, I would like to drill down into the project and to talk a little bit about the part of the project. And we split it to 3 different areas. We have the script creation. It's actually very similar to the problems that we found. These are the solutions. So the script creation, first of all, we defined, or we understand from our customers that they want to use their internal IDE. They have the IntelliJ, they have the Eclipse, some of them have Android Studio. They want to keep and work on this Android Studio. And this is what was very important for us, the ability to work with any IDE. And then, when you have this IDE, when you open your IDE, let's talk a little bit about how to create the script. First of all, you need to define few object repository. So first of all, you need to have an object spy, the ability to get all the objects from the device itself, the ability to press on a button and get the map of the DOM object or the application object in the device itself. And after you have this object spy, you need to build your object repository. that will be the key for your automation. So if you have it, and we are going to drill down to a specific example about the object repository. But if you are building a good object repository, it makes the maintenance very easy to use. Let's talk about the code. So we have different users that can create a different code. Some of them want to use Java, and they will be able to use Java because Java is very easy for developer and some tester to create an automation. All you need to do is to define your object driver and then work with it. But we also find that other users, more tester, product owner, want to create some automation. So we embedded the BDD and we selected the standard Cucumber BDD. So you can have a BDD test, Cucumber test, and it's going to be part of your test. But together with that, we make the BDD very easy to use by adding a specific command to Perfecto Mobile. Why? Because BDD is something that you can add a command to the language. You can make the language reachable. So what we did, we just created a lot of commands that connect to Perfecto Mobile. Press a button on a device, swipe on the device, open the camera, install the application. All of these very hard actions now provided to you as part of the automation. And together with that, the BDD allows you as a developer, you as a smart tester, to create a logical action. So if you need to define the login, and the login is like, I don't know, few actions like find the user, enter the password, validate something, you can create it as a Java code and add it to the BDD. So all the BDD user will be able to use this existing code. So the BDD is the ability to use English to create automation, the ability to get predefined actions that's connected to the device in order to make it easier for use, and the ability to add some logical actions to you. And of course, all of this built on Appium and Selenium. We do find that Appium and Selenium are the standard, the automation standard in the field itself. So everything is built on the Appium and Selenium. Let's talk a little bit about the execution. So in the execution, we have the heart of the execution done by the QAS, which knows how to get all the feature files connected to the object from the object spy and to execute it on the test. But this is also built on a common tools like TestNG and Maven, and we have, of course, Jenkins. All of these are part of the automation. All of these tools are part of this execution part. And this is the way that we connect it to the CI. So if you are creating a script, and let's say that you're creating a one script, and now you want to execute it on 20 devices, it's very easy. Why? Because this is part of the framework. If you need now to handle devices in a different state, devices in use, devices that execute different tests, it's already handled by the user. So all the, by the framework. All the execute part is actually handled by the framework. And that's something that I would like to show you today. It's very easy to take one script that you created and suddenly not only to execute it, but also to connect it to CI and to execute it every night and to get a result. And if you are talking about the result, Perfecto provides a new reporting tool, which is a SaaS reporting tool, which upload all the results into a private area that you will be able to analyze and learn about your execution. This report tools allow you to execute or to get data not only from Perfecto reports, but from any test that you want. And if you just want to have an API test, or you have like UI test, even manual test, you will be able to add some rows into this report tools. And this report tools allows you to see all the results and to drill down to a specific execution. So this is what we have here in Quantum. So it's an open source project built on top of QAF, use all these common tools and makes your automation environment very easy to use. All you need to do is to focus on your test. The execution, the results, the advanced options handled by the framework. We know how to run and execute automation. We know how to collect the data. We don't know how to create your own test. We gave you a very easy tools, BDD tools, to create your test. So let's see what is BDD, how to use it, what does it mean. So this is how we believe this test should look like in English. So let's go on this test that log into Perfecto Mobile. So what you can see here that I have my scenario. The scenario is login, and I have tag, which is part of my smoke test. So if you want to execute only one tag, or if you want to execute a test based on a tag, it's also doable. So I can use this execution manager to run my smoke test, my regression test, my full test, whatever I want. Nothing needs to be handled by me. Everything is handled by the framework. So you can see this test is part of my smoke test set. It contains, or it's named login, and then I have few actions. I connect into Perfecto Mobile. I'm finding the object name field user, and I'm entering my password. I'm finding the field password, and then I enter the password, and at the end I'm pressing on the submit button. What are these objects? We're going to talk about it in a second. All of these actions are already implemented by Perfecto Mobile. You don't need to do anything in order to use this action. Press key, find elements, scroll down, all of these, install application, close application, all of these commands already implemented. All you need to do is just to use your ID in order to pick it. It's very easy, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to create a script. So this is the way that script creates. What I want to talk now is about how to add a logical action. So as I mentioned, we implemented all the action. For example, when I click a specific object, you can see this is actually what we did in Perfecto Mobile. We have the driver in our test. We are finding the object, and then we are clicking on the object. So this is something that we already implemented. It's part of the framework. But let's talk a little bit about your logical action. Let's say I would like to accept the user agreement. In order to do that, what I need to do, I need to scroll all the way down and then click on the button. And what I give you, or what the framework gives you, is the ability to do it very easy. What you need to do is to say, okay, I have my user agreement function. This is a Java function. The driver will be accessible to you all the time. All you need to do is to use the get driver. And the commands are available to you in the util library. So the open source contains this util library, which can help you to create the script, and also there's the get driver command, which allows you to get the driver. Think about multi-threaded, think about hundreds of devices run. Every time that you are writing the code get driver, you are going to get the right driver for your test. And at the end, I'm clicking on the button agreement. So my tests look like this. This is my automation, and my tests look like I accept the user agreement as part of my test. Remember I told you about, or we talked a little bit about the object repository. What you can see here that the object repository is actually connect between logical name of my field and the right ID, or the right identifier. For example, I'm opening the object file. I learned that my submit button can be defined by this XPath. I created it on an external file, and then in my script, I'm going to use the logical action. Let's say tomorrow that this field is going to be changed. I will be able to change it in this external file, and all my tests will continue to run. More than that, and this is also part of the framework, if you have the same test, but let's say that the submit button is different between iOS and Android, you can create two repository files, which contains the same logical name, but the different object ID per OS version, and the framework will be able to get the right object from this external repository. So it helps you to reuse your test and create script once, and it helps you to maintain the script. And all these, in all the action to get the logical action, to get the right identifier, to go to the driver and find everything done by this framework. A few things about the framework. So the framework is, or Quantum framework is full structure. You will have everything you have these slides in your, in the links or in the getting started links that I'm going to share with you. But there are a few actions that I just want, or a few library of folders that I would like to share with you. You have the library to create your own test, your own scenario. You have the library to configure the execution. You have the library to configure the object repository, and that's it. These are the three libraries that you need to use. Define your own object repository, define your test, and then define the execution. The file or the repository contains one more file, which is the cloud or your driver definition area. In this case, you can see that, sorry, I defined Perfecto Mobile as my Appium or Selenium grid. By the way, if you are using with local device, you can just enter your local address. If you are using other grid, you can change it. You can see everything is very, very standard. We are using the standard automation. So if you want right now to execute your test and use local device, just enter here, server 127.0.0.1, and continue to work with your local devices. And last but not least, the execution manager. You need to have a part of the XML for each execution. In this case, you can see that I defined two devices. I want all my tests to be executed on these two devices, which I defined by the name. I want one of them will be iOS, and the other one will be an Android. So what we want to do now, I would like to take you to a tour with Quantum in the next 10 minutes, and to show you how does it look in my environment. So I do have a project. In this case, I selected IntelliJ. And in my project, I have two tests. You can see I created a test that said, I would like to test the Amtrak train. I'm going to amtrak.com. By the way, the framework contains and supports web and mobile applications, both. In this case, we are going to see a mobile application. So I would like to go to amtrak.com. I would like to click on the train status, to find a station, to enter value to a specific station, and to submit, and then to press the status button. By the way, if I want to add a command, you can see that all the commands are defined here. So if I want to have a validation, I can say, okay, I would like to see, I should see this string, sorry. If I want to open an application and to verify something on the application version, on the application data, you can see that all of these commands already implemented by the framework. So the framework allows you to use this test. So you see how easy it is to add a test. All you need to do is just to use this predefined function. So again, if you want to start a new test, all you need to do is to define this object. Now, this flow can be created not by the developer, not by the tester, but also by the product owner. So this is one way, the way to create a script. You have to remember BDD and the ability to reuse data that's already created by us, and you can get it from a predefined list. So that's one. The second thing is the object repository. So if I'm going into the Amtrak, you can see that I defined my object repository. For example, if I want to press on the status button, I can see that my status button is this submit button that I identified by the ID. So this is the XPath. So I created my object repository, I created my test, and the next thing that I need to do, or the last thing that I need to do, is to define the execution. So now I have 2 tests that I would like to execute it on 4 devices. So I'm going into my 3rd area. So this is my test area, this is my object repository area, and this is my 3rd area, the execution area. And I'm creating a very simple file that's going to say the following. I would like to execute all the tests with the Amtrak N tag. Let's return to the test. You can see that it's going to run the 1st and the 2nd script, sorry. And I would like to execute it on Galaxy device, on iPhone 6, and on 2 specific devices. So the way that I identify the devices is very flexible. You can do it by name, you can do it by any other property. And that's it. And then from here, I'm just running a standard test ng. So what happened right now, I just execute it, and the test is about to run on all of the devices on the same time. So I have a script that's been executed on 4 devices, and you can see right now we are going to Amtrak on all of the devices. We're going to press on the find train station. We are going to press on the location, and this is my test. So I have 1 test that I created with BDD. I used my framework to execute it on 4 devices. It took me like the execution. After I created the script, it took me like 5 minutes to configure the environment, to configure the execution, and now it's a Maven project. I can take it and connect it to any CI tools that I want. So I have my execution right now, and I have my test that runs on 4 devices. Again, standard test, standard script runs on 4 devices from my execution environment. You can see that I get the data directly from the, I get the report directly into my IDE, but we talked a little bit about the report. So we also have the report that's created by the reporting environment. And the reporting environment is the new SaaS reporting tools, which allows you to see all the tests that we just executed. So you can see that today I executed my Amtrak test. I would like to get only this Amtrak N test so I can understand how many tests have been executed. And what you can see is that my test actually passed today. I had some issue. We are going to drill down into the issue in a second. But let me try to understand better what's going on or what happened during my execution. So I would like to group my test by device, and I can see that I have a lot of issue on all of the devices, and right now at the end it started to work on the iOS. So if I want to drill down to a specific execution, all I need to press is on the execution itself. And what I found, and actually it's a real issue, when I execute this test in the morning, I found that this, after going to Amtrak.com, when I press on the next step, which is the find a ticket, something like this, the M mobile side was down. And this is why I got the error on all of the devices. Now it's been fixed, and right now I will be able to see this script that I just executed. Another thing that's very important for me to show you that the script tags are the same as your, it's the same as your test. So if your test contains the word, I open the browser, I click on the train status, I found the station, the report itself will contain the same sentence. I click on the buy ticket, I enter the value, so everything that's been executed reflects in the report, and you will be able to see immediately what happened on the device when you execute on a specific test. Of course, it contains web and video and everything that related to Perfecto Mobile. So I would like to summarize this demo. We are giving you an open source to create a very easy script to create and maintain an object repository and to be able to execute it easily on a lot of devices and connect it to the CI and get very strong report mechanism. What I want to do now, I would like to return to the slide. And go over a few questions that have been sent in the QA question. So, do we have some interesting questions?
One question from our audience is, how can I use only the reports part?
Oh, so yes, so as I mentioned, this framework contains a lot of parts. If you want to have one part, it's doable. If you want to have only the report part, if you want to have only the execution part, only the BDD part, you will be able to use it. If you're a Perfecto Mobile user, there is an API to use the report. The API works in two levels. One is REST API, and the second one is, if you are using TestNG, we have listener to TestNG, which create everything automatically.
Another question from our audience, can we use Qmetry for both desktop and automation? In other words, a script for desktop can be used in mobile apps.
Oh, that's perfect question, and the answer is yes. As I told you before, when we analyze the framework, we look for frameworks that support everything. So yes, you can run it. You can use, I don't know if you're familiar with this feature, but we have a browser in Perfecto Mobile. So you can run it on your local browser, you can run it on a desktop, you can run it on mobile devices, and you can execute it on web in the cloud. So everything supported. By the way, if you have a different tool, you can use it with a different tool.
Another question from our audience, can I use it without BDD?
Oh, that's also a good question. Yes. If you want to write a Java code, you will be able to write just like a Java code. I don't want to use this BDD. I got it from a lot of developers and a tester that feel comfortable with Java, and they still need and get a lot of benefit from Quantum. Why? Because they're focused on the Java code. All they need to do is just to use the get driver and start the test, and the Quantum framework handled everything, the execution, the report, and everything. And yes, it's been used also without a BDD. Any more questions?
One more. How can I start with this framework?
Okay. So that's very good questions, because it leads me to the next slide. So yes, there is a link. So it's all open source. There are some links that show you how to work with. So this is the lead for quantum.com. In order to start, we have something called Quantum Starter Kit. This project is a full project that can be implemented in Maven or in IntelliJ. Sorry, in Eclipse or in IntelliJ. All you need to do is to go over this getting started and work with it. By the way, you will be able to see that we do have a document and full document how to start, and this is the step-by-step. You will see a full explanation how to get a project from GitHub, how to upload it to your repository, what can be done, what configuration need to be done. It's really, really easy way to create the first project. And after you having the first project, you can start and add more tests. If you want to use Qmetry, you also have the options to download it from here. And again, also Qmetry contains a lot of documents. That was very important for us when we are looked for a framework which will be well documented. So you have all the documents that you need about Qmetry, and you have this Getting Start project in Quantum that allows you and teach you how to start and create an automation. By the way, I also challenging you, if you find it as an open source, and if you find some command that's used by you, if you created a very cool command, you can add it to all of the users by committing to the project. So this project is open for you. So I'll give you an example. We just released last month the image injection feature, which allows you to take an image and send it to the camera. So when you run your automation around the image, you can, when you run your automation with the camera, you can send any image that you want. We didn't add this command, and one of our customers added the command and committed to the code. So if you find something interesting, if you want to add some code to Perfecto Mobile Quantum, you will be able to do it. If you want just to start and try it, go here, go into the document, download the step-by-step, or follow the step-by-step details, which shows you first how to download and install it and how to create your first VDD script, and that's it. You will be able to run some automation. Any more questions?
A few more questions came in from our audience. One from Valerie. Can this be used in Visual Studio as an IDE? You've mentioned that this is built on open source, but then the reporting area is an SAS.
So that's also a very important solution. So let's talk a little bit about the report. So this is one part of the report. Qmetry contains a very strong report, local report, which is part of the open source. So if you want to use this report environment, it's also available. So when I'm executing the test, I have the SAS report, but I also have the Qmetry report that you can use, and these are local report environment.
Okay, everybody. Well, thank you for attending our webinar. Again, we'll send out the slides and recording the next day or so. And if any questions were unanswered, we'll also follow up with those very shortly.
One thing, in the last slide, you will be able to get all the links for how to start Qmetry and how to understand what's going on there and how to start Perfecto Quantum.
All right. Thanks again. Bye.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for attending the session.
Thank you, Shiva.
Thank you. Thanks, Rosie.
Bye-bye.